gentlemen, in this very video I will show you 7 amazing niche fragrances that I think are perfect for the summer. So let's not waste any more time and let's begin. The very first fragrance on this list is my first imaginary author's fragrance, and that is Sundrunk. Sundrunk is such a fun, joyful and pleasant fragrance to wear, especially if you're looking for a fragrance that smells very reminiscently of a cold Fanta. This has all of the aspects of an orange citrus. It has the rindy, zesty qualities from the orange zest. It has the very juicy and almost drink-like qualities from the orange juice, and it's very difficult to describe, but it also has this very organic and photorealistic scent of the flesh and the very essence of an orange citrus whenever you're either squeezing it or taking a bite of it. It has all of these aspects to give you this very photorealistic, juicy, zesty and very lively orange scent with some rhubarb to give you some additional tartness and juiciness to the orange, and there's also some neroli and honeysuckle to give you some texture and base whenever this gets too dry. You're going to pick up on the slightly floral but slightly creamy and smooth texture in the base, while the citrusy and rhubarb aspects are going to be there for the entire lifetime of the fragrance. On my skin, Imaginary Author's Sundrunk lasts 6 to 8 hours with moderate projection for around an hour or so, which then dries to a mild skin scent. It might not be the best performing citrusy fragrance out there, but the sheer quality of the scent is super high and almost impossible to compare. So even though the parameters of this fragrance aren't the strongest, I still will give this fragrance a 9 out of 10 men's improvement rating. So Imaginary Author's Sundrunk, perfect for the summer, especially if you want to smell like a Fanta, which is super delicious, mouth-watering, just a joy to wear. From one drink-like fragrance to another, I have a very underrated and very unspoken of fragrance, and that is ZarkoPerfume Pink Molecule. This fragrance is so reminiscent of a sparkly pink lemonade. This has grapefruit, apricot and a champagne accord to give you this very lively, slightly sparkly but very watery drink-like, rindy, pink grapefruit-like sensation to give you this very sophisticated but at the same time very unique scent that is perfect for the warmer weather if you don't want a typical citrus fragrance but want something with some texture and some unique qualities. Some people might think this leans slightly feminine, but I think this is perfectly unisex, especially if you're looking for a fragrance that has a sparkly pink lemonade-like quality. In terms of the longevity and performance, on my skin, ZarkoPerfume Pink Molecule lasts 7 to 9 hours with an arm's length of projection for around half an hour with decent sillage afterwards, which then dries eventually to a mild skin scent. So again, not the strongest fragrance in the world, but the scent profile alone is so unique and such an underrated fragrance in my opinion. And I've given Pink Molecule 0.9009 and 8.5 out of 10 men's improvement rating. Such an underrated, not very spoken about fragrance that I think is perfect for the spring and summer, especially if you're looking for a scent that might remind you of a pink lemonade. Third fragrance up is my second ever Xerjoff, and it's starting to become one of my favorite summer fragrances of all time, and that is Xerjoff Cruz del Sur 2. This is such a fun, fruity, tropical, exotic fragrance with mango, pineapple and blackcurrant to give you this very exotic, fruity, juicy, sweet sensation that is a fragrance that puts a smile on my face and makes me feel like I'm on vacation somewhere warm and exotic. This has also some lactonic qualities to give you somewhat of this fruity pina colada sensation. In my opinion and on my skin, this is very linear, so the fruity tropical sweetness and juiciness stays on my skin, and that's why I also really love it. This is a pleasure to wear. On my skin, Cruz del Sur 2 lasts 8 to 10 hours with an arm's length of projection for around half an hour, which then makes a nice scent bubble for around half an hour more, but then dries to a mild skin scent. This is one of the best Xerjoffs out there on the market, especially for the spring and summer season if you want a very, very dense, thick, juicy and very exotic tropical fragrance. I have given Xerjoff Cruz del Sur 2 a 9 out of 10 men's improvement rating. This is such an amazing fragrance and I can't stop raving about it. I just mentioned this in my collab with 4 other creators as this being my niche fragrance pick for the summer, because this is such an amazing fragrance in my opinion. On the 4th spot, my favorite fresh MFK fragrance, L'Homme à la Rose. L'Homme à la Rose is a very unique fragrance in my opinion because it is a fragrance that is designed for men but made around rose. This starts off with a very lively, very vibrant grapefruit and bergamot with a touch of a salty quality here to give you some zingy, airy, fresh, clean and lively quality here, but at the same time you're going to be met with this slightly aromatic rose sensation that is really the X factor here to give you a very unique quality to a typical men's fragrance. This uses 2 types of rose and rose thorns to give you a rose-like scent, but not overly floral and slightly green, aromatic and somewhat masculine leaning, while at the same time being perfectly unisex. Such a pleasure to wear while at the same time being very unique because of the rose and rose thorns to give you a very unique take on a men's fresh fragrance. On my skin, L'Homme à la Rose lasts 10 to 12 hours with around an arm's length of projection for around an hour or so, which then dries to a mild skin scent. This is an amazing fragrance and my go-to fresh MFK fragrance, hence why I've given Maison Kurkdjian L'Homme à la Rose a 9.1 out of 10 men's improvement rating. Just a pleasure to wear, and if you're looking for a unique fragrance for the spring and summer, look no further than this. On the 5th spot is a fragrance that I have mentioned countless of times on the channel now, and that is Lorenzo Pazzaglia Sun-Gria. This is one of the strongest summer fragrances out on the entire market because it has a whopping 45% perfume oil concentration. This is in the realm of a fruit basket type of fragrance, but in my opinion is one of the best ones because there's so many other nuances happening. This has a lot of citruses and fruitiness here from grapes, blood orange, black currant and a lot of other fruits, combined with a red wine accord that gives you a boozy, but in a red wine way, density and richness, and some brown sugar and vanilla in the base to give you some sweetness and amp up the scent profile in general to make it even stronger, even denser, even thicker, and generally make it a monster on skin. Because of all of these qualities, you get a scent that tries to smell of a wine because of the overdose of fruity nuances, the red wine accord to give you some boozy but in a red wine density, and the touch of sweetness in the base, which is not just a touch but there's a lot of it as well. On my skin, Lorenzo Pazzaglia Sun-Gria lasts over 12 to 15 hours with an arm's length of projection for an hour or 2, which then dries to a moderate and in the end a mild skin scent. Ever since Swedish Face or U.SE gifted me this fragrance, I could not stop raving about it because you can wear this all year round, but in the summer I think this would be a literal monster, but still a very pleasant fragrance to wear if you want to stand out in the high heat, because this is going to be almost nuclear in the high heat. And I've given Lorenzo Pazzaglia Sun-Gria a 9.8 out of 10 men's improvement rating. Such a masterpiece right here. On the 6th spot, one of my favorite Goldfield and Banks fragrances, I have Sunset Hour. Sunset Hour from Goldfield and Banks is one of my favorite from the brand, not because it's strong, because it is not one of the strongest fragrances in the world, I must admit, but because it is very nostalgic and reminiscent of an iced tea. This is fresh but at the same time sweet and fruity coming from the peach that gives you this very drink-like iced tea feel, where the fruitiness also gives you some contrast, not make it a literal iced tea, but give you the nuances of it. This is also going to be slightly woody in the base, but most going to be very fresh with some nuances of the peach still being reminiscent on my skin. Such a pleasure to wear, such a great fragrance in the high heat, especially if you don't want another typical citrus fragrance, but actually want something very fun, playful, fruity, and reminiscent of an iced tea. Some people might think it leans slightly more feminine, but in my opinion it's definitely dead on unisex. But I think if you're looking for a very tropical but very easygoing fragrance, Sunset Hour is the way to go. On my skin, Goldfield and Banks Sunset Hour lasts 5 to 7 hours with moderate projection from half an hour, which then dries to a mild skin scent. Very pleasant, very fun, very nostalgic, and also a joy to wear. I've given Goldfield and Bank's Sunset Hour an 8.3 out of 10 men's improvement rating. One of my favorites, not for its parameters, but for the sheer joy that this brings me whenever I wear it. Last but definitely not least, one of the strongest fragrances on my skin that I have for the summer is going to be Stephane Humbert Luca God of Fire. This fragrance is such a joy to wear in my opinion, especially if you love mango, because mango here is the main player with some lemon, ginger and red berries to give you this very fruity, tropical, exotic mango juiciness that is very prominent throughout the entire lifetime of the fragrance on my skin, with some dry amberiness and woodiness. There's apparently oud in this fragrance, but I don't pick up on that at all, but there is definitely some ambery sweetness and dryness to give you some depth and something that it can live off of. And I say that because on a lot of people's skin this does not last more than 5 to 6 hours, but on my skin it is very strong and long lasting. But if you want a very long lasting mango fragrance that is slightly one-dimensional but still has some ambery richness to it in the base, this is one of the best fragrances out there for the spring and summer in my opinion. On my skin, Stephane Humbert Luca God of Fire lasts over 17 hours with 1 to 2 meters of projection for around an hour or two, with great sillage as well. It dries to a moderate and at some point a mild skin scent. On my skin again this is very strong, but on other people it might be the complete opposite, so definitely give it a try before you buy if you can. Definitely do not blind buy this. I've given Stephane Humbert Luca God of Fire a 10 out of 10 men's improvement rating. One of my favorites in my collection for the spring and summer. This is so good, you guys. Gentlemen, that was my list of 7 niche fragrances for the summer. What do you think of this list? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Do you own some of these fragrances? Tried some of them before? Do you dislike the fragrances that I've picked? Or do you have some other recommendations for niche summer fragrances? Comment down below with your thoughts, opinions and recommendations. I would love to see what you have to say down there. Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the Men's Improvement YouTube channel for more videos about fragrances, grooming, style, fashion, skincare, fitness, watches, everything that will make you, gentlemen, the best possible versions of yourselves. The last few things that I want to ask you, gentlemen, is to smile more because it's free, and I want you to watch these 2 videos right here. This one here below is going to be my latest upload, whereas this one up here is going to be video that the YouTube algorithm thinks you will enjoy.